All right, what is going on, guys? It is time for another episode of the Chasing Waypoints podcast. And, well, we are back, and we have got a special guest today. Well, you guys already know the title. Why are we dressing it up? Just a second, we're going to have that interview that we just finished up with none other than Willem Avedon Racing, Willem Avedon, and working on his Decoding Dakar project. That is right, 4 weeks left, and then it is time. So what are we talking about today, man? We cover all sorts of stuff, but this is on the heels of the 2025 Dakar Rally route presentation that just wrapped up a couple of hours ago. Both Willem and I listening attentively to some of the new details, some of the stuff that is going to be happening, and you're going to have to watch the interview to figure that one out. And what we saw, pretty good. But Willem working his butt off, training, doing all sorts of stuff, catching up with him. Great interview, great chat with him. Links are in the description. If you haven't already, you're going to want to subscribe to the YouTube channels. Make sure you're not missing any of the videos, including this one. Speaking of videos, let me change the mic position here. Speaking of videos, what have you guys checked it out already? Taco Mike. That is right. Taco Motoko, Taco Mike was in the studios. Videos are live on YouTube. You can follow him on his channel, Taco Moto, or over on the Chasing Waypoints side of things. So hope you guys have checked him out. Hope you guys have hit the subscribe and notification buttons. Got a lot of stuff coming. Also got some Cove stuff starting to filter out. If you guys haven't already followed us, don't forget to follow us on the Instagram at Chasing Waypoints. Anyway, that's enough of that commercial. We got an interview to get to, and again, we're talking with none other than Willem about his Decoding Dakar and the remaining 4 weeks, including the Dakar presentation. So stay tuned. Make sure you guys stay to the end. You're going to find out a little bit more about how you can support his mission to getting to the 2025 Dakar. So with that being said, let's get to it. All right. So new technology going on. So
I seem to be your guinea pig.
I know, yeah. You get to be the guinea pig. You know, lots of firsts. You know, first time on Riverside doing an interview with Willem. Willem, first time going to this. What's that one race you're doing this coming year?
I think it starts with a D.
Yeah, it's like a fun ride, isn't it? It's a 2 week long.
If you really like riding bikes, that one.
Yeah. It is the ultimate event in deciding on whether or not you are going to want to ride a motorcycle for the rest of your life in the desert.
Exactly. And I've always said to friends of mine that, you know, I've never reached the point where I don't want to ride anymore. So we're going to see if Dakar's going to be that one, right? If I finish and I'm like, I want to go more. I haven't reached that point yet, but I suspect after the big route reveal today that there's definitely going to be some of I don't want to ride anymore going on at some point.
Well, I can say with just a tiny bit of authority is that the majority of the people that I've interviewed that have participated in the Dakar, finished the Dakar, have gone through all the trials and tribulations of it, say when they get to the finish line, they never want to throw a leg over a motorcycle again. And then a week later, can't wait to go back.
That's the feeling. I've heard. I think it ranges from 1 week to 6 months, but yeah, you always speak to the pros.
Yeah. Results may vary. This may or may not be right for you, but no, you're right. I mean, and it was funny too. I'm like, oh well, yeah, we probably shouldn't do this earlier because they're doing the route presentation, and we got to talk about that. That is
exactly.
I mean,
we'll have so much fun.
I was expecting that it was going to be the video that we had already seen, right? We went to Ensenada. You know, we were in Ensenada together. We saw the video. We saw the presentation of what they were planning. But what do you think? I mean, I'll let you. I mean, you're going to have to micro-analyze all of this, what was in the video. But what do you think so far?
Look, for me, like I've been in search of, you know, that feeling in your stomach when you don't know if you're excited or if you're horrified or terrified and if you want to throw up. And watching that thing today, I actually experienced it. So I'm like actually happy, even though I'm like poop scared. I'm like, yes, you know, wow. So watching that, I was like, oh my word. I mean, every day, I think except for one day, we're doing like between 600 and 800 Ks every day almost, like if you include the liaisons. I think there's one short special in there of 100 and something Ks or
Yeah,
350 Ks. It's like one of those,
yeah.
like,
You're already roached by then anyway.
exactly. So I was like, whew. So now for the first time, I think it's like palatable. It's like, oh my word, like we're doing the feedback Fridays tomorrow and it'll be 4 weeks to Dakar. It's like, yeah, like, it's real. So the route, I chatted about it a little bit earlier, 48-hour chrono straight off the bat. I think that's going to be insane. Um, I think in one way, I worked a lot on myself to say to myself, I don't care about the route. It's literally just one tulip at a time, 1 kilometer at a time, because there's just too many variables. So what stage is when doesn't matter. I think the two standout things for me is I knew that the second to last stage is going to be the monster, but seeing it visually on that video of where we're going in the empty quarter and knowing what those dunes look like, that, oh, it's perturbing, dude. It's like, okay, breathe. You have to first get there to worry about it, and then you have to get through 380 Ks of the biggest, hardest dunes in the world. It's going to be insane in order to finish. Like,
Yeah,
so you could get to the finish and then not finish.
yeah.
So,
I mean, really, yeah, that there's enough dunes on that last day in the empty quarter to completely change the race, which is, thinking about it, that's really interesting how they did it, right? So we saw, right, finish line is in the empty quarter, the last day, the mass start, all of that stuff. But it's interesting the balance of it. You've got the 48-hour chrono stage right off the get-go, stage 2, 3. And
yeah.
then all the way on the other end of the event, you have a really, really, really big dunes day. And the dunes, I think, seem to be an equalizer. Like there's some guys they're really, really good in the dunes, and it doesn't throw them off as much. But a lot of people, I think, I mean, I look at, I don't know that I would ever, like me personally, I don't think I would do the Sonora side of things because I'm not a dunes rider. Now, maybe once I learned how to ride the dunes, you've spent some time recently training in that. You probably find a rhythm to it. But I mean, what do you think is going to be more challenging in your mind? I mean, you think the dune
So
side,
that's something. I mean, I think we can like keep the direction in the route thing, but I'm gonna just interject there a little bit from Decoding Dakar side. Is that I went to Namibia recently with the idea of preparing for that specific last stage. It's like, I will take this much time out of my life because I want to be ready in my mind for a 380. I thought it was 400 and something, but 380K dune stage. And in my brain, I had this idea of going to do 380Ks in the dunes in one day and just saying to myself, listen, I've done it. I know I can do it. I'm going to be more tired in Dakar, but I've done it just to have that tick, right? And as with all these things rally related, when I got to Namibia, the training was not what I was doing, wasn't what I had set up in my mind and what I expected. And maybe even not what I wanted to do, but I kind of was like, look, I'm here. I can't be disappointed. I need to roll with it. And the concept that I learned there, which was what's really helpful, is the guy that I was with there spent way more time, like people always talk about reading the dunes, and I had always misunderstood that as predicting, what is on the other side of the dune as far as reading the dunes is concerned. And what I'd learned is that reading the dunes is more about looking far, far ahead and finding the path of least resistance through a specific dune field, so that when you get to the dune, you have your angles and your approaches and all of that figured out, so that you use minimal energy to cross it. Because bar for the top 15 guys that can take a straight line without expending energy, most of the normal people need to read the dunes. And that opened up a whole new world for me of sand riding, because all of a sudden I'm not looking at an obstacle and saying like, oh, I have to get over there. I'm looking at obstacles saying, what is the most energy efficient way, and this is something that Mike Johnson really focuses on a lot as well. What's the most energy efficient way for me to get over here? Because yes, anybody can attempt to go straight over, but how much energy and time are you going to lose if you don't make it, or if you crash on the other side because you don't know what there is, because you're not somebody that's in a position to not necessarily come again, but sponsored riders can take risks to a degree. So that was super interesting. So I learned so much. So let's talk after Dakar. But for now, I mean, I was after Abu Dhabi, I was comfortable in the dunes.
Mhm.
But now another guy in the US that's really good at that is Nathan Rafferty, where once you get the dunes, once you understand it, it becomes fun. It's still dangerous, but it becomes fun. So honestly, for me, I mean, I hope I don't eat my words. I'll give you honest feedback afterwards. But for now, I'm kind of excited for the dunes because I'm like, okay, I think I get it. I think I know how to do it. And once you do, then it gets fun. So in your case, maybe you must come with us to Namibia at some point. And and it's not the big dunes, and it's something that David Castera said in the route, jumping back to the route, that makes me a little bit not concerned, but it's something that anybody that's done Sonora would know. The first 3 days does have dunes in it. It's just not big dunes, it's small dunes. And the small dunes are way worse, way more dangerous, and impossible to get your rhythm because, they're all maybe the size of a house or a little bit smaller, and you just cannot, and it's all flat where they meet the soil again, it's all flat. So those small dunes really work you. So I've gotten to the point in my sand riding where I prefer big dunes to small dunes. I get it. I was like, this big dunes is much easier. So we'll see. But I think those first 3 days to get back to the route is going to be exceptionally difficult. And he didn't say exceptionally difficult. He's like, it's hard. So I think up to rest day, it's going to be super hard. They've really focused on after rest day and you could see it in Castera's face and body language that he's the most excited for those split stages after rest day, because he's like, these are the real Dakar stages. These are the crown jewels. So I think they're going to make us work hard to get to rest day, have the best riding of your life, and then throw in the empty quarter challenge.
Yeah, right at the end. And that was it was interesting that he took his time to say, but wait, it's not going to be a walk in the park like you were mentioning, like the dunes. He made it a point to mention, it's like, yes, it's not the empty quarter, but it's also not the empty quarter. Like there's going to be some challenges there, and especially in the first few stages, talking about that mixture of both rocks and sand, and I think that's going to be. And then there was the one thing that I think was maybe going to be a rest for you guys is that the speaking of long liaisons, the marathon stage finishing at the camp rather than having to do a liaison to the camp and then a liaison out of it. It's like everything is right there. I mean, I guess at that point you're just saving a few precious kilometers.
Yeah, I think your ass is so sore at that point that any kind of liaison is like, you're just done with it. I've got, speaking of which, I've got a little Airhawk. Big shout out to Airhawk. I've been riding with it on my adventure bikes, but I've got a small one that I've always used at rallies where they get really jealous. If you have a 300-400K liaison and you roll out your Airhawk and you like put it on the seat. But some guys have told me, I think it was David said to me that he got so tired that you forget to take out your Airhawk even on the liaison. So we're gonna see. But I'm taking a little ass cushion to save the ass for those long liaisons.
We'll have to. I'm curious about that. I'm getting so I'm finally getting on the tail end of the Cove build, and I'm looking at the seat going. I got it covered. It looks fancy. I'm like, yeah, I don't think that's a lot of for an adventure ride. That doesn't seem so. I might be looking for. I might lean on you to see kind of what that thing looks like.
Yeah, it's just like a blow up doll. Oh no.
Yeah. Well,
you just blow it up and put it down.
A blow up seat cushion, similar to what you would use.
Sorry, blow. blow up seat cushion.
Yes.
So yeah, so that goes on there. But I've seen that there's quite a few people are putting seat concepts on their Corvettes.
I
So
did.
there is an option for that.
Yeah,
So
that may be the next one. I just saw Mike Johnson finishing up the Baja 1000 with the win on that one, and they went with the seat concepts seat. And I know that Mark Vanscourt on his bike, the bike that they raced on, he has his seat concepts on it as well. So yeah, I think it's going to be probably the way to go. Ultimately, first photo shoot's going to have
ultimately,
just the seat cover, but yeah, so. I mean, yeah, we've got the route presentation. I mean, we kind of knew what was coming. They talked about it. I think that the video that we got to see with the Dakar presentation in Ensenada had a little more meat on the bones as far as the course design. They included some of the feedback from the riders and what they wanted to see out of the route that David Castera and the team were putting together. So now, okay, we saw what we expected. Let's go back to the Decoding Dakar, because it's been a minute that you and I have talked.
it has been a minute. We haven't been able to collate our schedules. I mean, it's crazy. So for those of you guys that don't know, Victor is taking Thanksgiving Day off to talk to me. So thank you, Victor. I mean, this is the reality of Decoding Dakar. Is like, what, it's Thanksgiving and we're talking about rally? Like, I think everybody around me is so sick of hearing about Dakar. They're like, let's just get there now. It's been a year.
Go talk to him. Just get it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, Decoding Dakar, man, it's been crazy. I'm trying to think when was the last time we spoke. Have I gone to Colorado the last time we spoke? I don't think so. No.
I think you were getting ready to go back out. I think you had done some. At least I saw from their social media that you had been out there with Donnie. You guys did some training, right?
So we went. This was all before. So, okay, when I came, let's just recap. So I was in South Africa for a huge, 2-week winter training with friends, which is crazy. And, I keep on reiterating this. For me, the biggest, funnest part that's come out of Decoding Dakar for me is that the relationships and the friendships, under normal circumstances, we don't go riding that often. So now I force myself to go and ride. Not force, I want to go and ride, but I make it my mission this year that I want to ride. But then you have to find people to ride with you. You can't I mean, I've done thousands of Ks by myself, but if you're training and you're pushing it and you want to go a bit faster, you need that just somebody by your side. And so the idea of just every ride I go on is somebody else. It's a different relationship. It's something new that you learn. So that was so much fun. And in South Africa, we went. It was insane. It was cold, it was wet, and it was that real slog. But then we did 3,000-4,000 Ks over 5 days, and it was just like getting on the bike every day, just kind of embracing the suck. It wasn't road books or anything. It was just riding.
Yeah.
So that was the June, July. I came back. Then we had the shakedown for the Baja Rally. The whole organizing crew went down and we rode there. That was really fun, and I was able to use that as a training because the road books were ready, and we treated the shakedown as a ghost rally. We were 5 guys. And we just pushed you were there at the rally, so you saw how smooth it went. But we went star times like it would be in the rally. We timed it. We had a whole rally just with 5 guys. So that was great training for me because I could push. I knew there was rally comp. I knew there was tracking. And at the same time, if I had to stop to make a roadbook change, I did. So I could rest as well. So that was really fun. And then I went to School of Moto in Colorado, had their annual rodeo, which was by far the most fun I had on a bike this year. It was just, if anybody can make it out there next year, it's a low-key event. But the cool thing about it is it's a bunch of grown-ups that compete, but for fun. There's no egos, there's no nothing. And it was just that pure, unadulterated, we're all having a good time on bikes. So that was fun. And then since I was there and since the bike's there, that's the Cove from Cove USA. So Gary and the guys at Cove, thanks so much. I was there already. I could train. So I spent quite a lot of time there riding long distances. And then Motor-Minded Chris took me on some of his, or not his road books, but road books that he procured for us. So that was fun. That was all up in Colorado. And he took me on some really cool single track stuff that I've never experienced before. And it was just really nice, to have people help me train. Like, it was so much fun, and so much riding. So that was September, and then October we had the Baja Rally, dude. So you and I actually spent a lot of time together. It's like,
Yeah.
and for those of you guys that don't know, Victor and I actually get along really, really well. We don't fight, we don't bicker. I think if it gets serious, things just get quieter, but we don't actually think we work together really well. Like, we have real fun. So we ran the Baja Rally. Victor was doing the tracking and the timing and stuff with Rallycomp, the whole Rallycomp team. So it's same as last year. And I had so much fun at Baja this year. It was really great.
I was really sorry to interject that, but there was a really good, there was a really good vibe, and it's just been a continuation. I've seen every year it's just gotten better and better and better. And you kind of mentioned it earlier, and now knowing that you guys were basically doing a mock rally when doing the shakedown, that would explain things like timing. When you guys were predicting, okay, first rider should be at about this point, about this time, first rider back at this time, and I mean, within 30 minutes, right there. I mean, there's so much unpredictable that happens, but that it was it was definitely a marker of the effort that you guys put in, to make that all happen. And it sounds like it was a good training. I mean, the routes look. I saw we saw
good routes.
that video that the media team put out. I was like, oh my god! By the end,
insane, dude. If that video does not make you want to go and do a rally, nothing in this world will. I mean, it was such a good video. And I mean, all props. Like, so for me, any races I've been involved in, I've always kind of demanded, it was a deal breaker that if I work with the race, I need to see the route. There's no question about it. I think what Scotty's done, which was amazing, is that they've been doing these shakedowns for many years. I just don't know, like, to what extent, but I think, I mean, props and kudos to go to Scotty and to Mal for running it, because it's just the same organization as doing the rally, just for less people. And a lot of people always see an entry fee and they're like, where does the money go? That shakedown rally is costing serious money. We have to get vehicles out there, it's tracking, it's accommodation, it's food, it's fuel, it's bikes. But that, I see that cost as an investment, because that makes the rally run smoother. And you can correct me, but we didn't have, other than the unforeseen issue on stage one where there was issues with the ranchers, we didn't have a single timing or tracking issue, and that it's simply because of the fact that if you do that mock-up race, you can isolate the problems before they occur in the race, and it's something that I think Baja is fairly cutting edge with, because I don't know many people or many races that run a complete from stage 1 to stage 5 or 6 mock-up rally before the time, but it pays dividends totally.
Oh, absolutely. And not only that, but the fact, like, I've been working with the Rallycomp team now for several years, during my time with Baja Rally, and then after, of course, I've continued it. And if there's one thing that I know is, that Scotty and the team, you guys have been really adamant about running the stages, running that stuff through the Rallycomp, with the Rallycomp, considering that it plays such a big role in the timing and scoring and tracking, all of that, and making sure that everything just fires off. And this year was no exception. Last year was great, and this year was even better, results and, the tracking, the checkpoint times, all of this stuff was just, the Rallycomp is a calculator. I've said it before, and like we all know, calculators, right? Calculators are crap in, crap out. If you don't pre-run your stages, if you don't do your settings accordingly, the Rallycomp is going to do its job, but it's going to do the job that you tell it to do. And sometimes it doesn't happen that way. So, we don't need to get into specific examples of it, but it is a it's a testament to how powerful that thing can be
Mm-hmm.
with, when used and used in conjunction with, it's awesome finding out where the assets are at, where everybody's at, keeping track of people. I mean, yeah.
No, it was amazing. And again, yeah, I mean, I've said it at the race and I said all over, people underestimate the value of the rally comp. I think mostly because it's hard to understand it if you don't see our side of it, the back side of it. It's not just a little computer, it's an entire system. And that's what I think people don't always get. It's almost like a management system, which is a really, really cool.
And yeah, I mean that's and it's fun to see. It's fun to watch the racing. We got to see a lot of that racing, and actually, and then that brings up is a part of practicing and what you were doing was not just writing the road books, but you were also you had input on some of the road books and making some of the stages a little tougher and negotiating that. There was, I feel like this year. Did you bring some of the stuff that you've learned and some of your feedback and some of that stuff? I mean, I'm not saying anybody rode off into the sunset, but there was definitely more talk about, a little bit trickier navigation or a little bit more challenging, which worked out.
I think so. I think that it's a two-pronged thing. I think Scotty, as a road book maker and a route finder, does an exceptional job. And for anybody that's been with us on the shakedowns, any roadbook changes, it becomes like a 30-minute discussion between me and Scotty because it's his art, it's what he does. So it's hard to bring in those changes if there are changes. So we've come to a very good understanding about how we communicate, Scotty and I, about changes, because the first year, last year, I definitely changed a bunch of stuff that I didn't need to change. So I think we've learned each other's roadbook language. I understand what type of roadbooks he likes. But if I see a note, and that's the point of the shakedown, is if I see a note where I feel like, and Scotty always says this, the roadbook is only as strong as its weakest note, right? So if I see something, and first of all, it's not just me, right? And that's the thing that I like about it, is that it was myself, David, Kenny, Rick, and I think there was somebody else that's joined us some days as well. So you're a group of people, so there's different eyes on it, which is what I like. But on the specific navigation stage that you talk about that morning, I think it was on stage 4, that was definitely, I brought a lot of the stuff in there that I've learned and seen. And I think next year we're going to see even more of that. The biggest thing that I've learned in rally is that navigation is dictated by terrain. We can't get away from that. And it is hard in Baja to find terrain that allows us for trickier navigation. But that section on stage 4 did it. And I mean, you and I don't want to say we were laughing because that would be wrong, but we had fun seeing the guys mill around, and that's what we want. We want that. So we definitely made the books trickier. I would love, and I know Scotty would love, to make it even more trickier, but we're limited in terrain. To do true HP and off-cap stuff, that's the only time that you can do it more tricky. If there's roads, if there's anything visual, yes, you can write the road book, so it's harder. And I think with the new Rally Navigator updates, I don't know if you've seen them, there's some insane stuff that's going to make the concept of combined nodes next year much easier for us as road book makers. So I'm super excited for that, because anybody doing the Baja next year can be prepared for more tricky nodes. But to answer your question, yes, I feel that and this is why I'm excited for Dakar as well, is any race I do teaches me something new. I learn something new. I take something away from it, and that effectively does come into the roadbook making. So I see it as an investment for me, as far as, if I can be a better route organizer, roadbook maker, whatever, that if the Dakar helps with that, that would be great. And I think that's totally the aim for us in Baja, is to make it as representative as possible to what you would experience somewhere else, given the terrain.
Yeah. Yeah. It was definitely like, I mean, I saw the drone, we saw the drone footage from the recap video. We saw the daily videos and stuff like that. And really you have to watch the recap video, the longer one.
Go and watch it, you guys. It's really good. I think it's called Baja X, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and
go and check it out.
I think the biggest thing that I took away from it is, the terrains and the areas that they're running in, and it's not, I didn't see a single footage shot of whoops, and I didn't see anything that was super gnarly. There was some rocky, there were some challenges. We did have, and like any rally, you're gonna have certain areas, certain terrains, certain challenges that it does change a little bit, right? We had the hill on what was that, day 3 or 4?
Day 5 was the 104 degrees Fahrenheit rock climb. Yep.
Yeah, that was, what did the Hilo pilot Eric, he said when
I think
he
107 or 104.
Yeah, when he landed. No, I thought it was higher. I thought it was like 114 or 115 when he landed.
That is crazy.
I was telling him. So, and I mean, talk about, that particular situation. Talk about, the sportsmanship between the riders. The rider that ended up having issues with heat exhaustion did so because he went to help another rider.
Exactly.
So that was, I mean, that, hats off. I don't want to say divulge the names and all that stuff because of privacy.
You know who you are.
You know who you are. If you watch the show, you know who you are. Hats off. That's huge to go help somebody on a very tricky section and even put, yourself, your rally at risk, to help get somebody out of there. And that kind of camaraderie between, competitors, is really cool. I don't think you see that anywhere else. You see that in other places and it's just competition. It's like, in the Baja races, I know it, you make a pass, somebody's, got a flat on the side of the road or they're stopped, and you don't see anybody, you look and you go, ha, gotcha. And then,
That's it. Yep. And I think we touched on that a little bit after I was at Abu Dhabi because, I was so, I mean, any race that's not an FIM race, the organization ASO and FIM refers to as an amateur rally, no matter what. If it's not a FIM race, it's in the amateur category for them. And I know we had this conversation, but it was such an eye-opener for me because it wasn't that I experienced of why I love rally, like that camaraderie, helping each other. It's like, listen, dude, if you get here, you're here because you're racing and you're in it, you're on your own. Like this like you're paying the money because the organization will help you if you cannot go on anymore. But that's it. Everybody's here for the podium. And again, it's not good or bad. That's why the sport is at the cutting edge. But as part of Decoding Dakar and as part of learning, that Abu Dhabi was $20,000. How many amateur races can you go and do for $20,000, around the world? So, and again, I love doing it. I would go back, but it's about the mindset of knowing what you get into. And this is where us, the normal guys that's doing rally, why the amateur rallies, and I mean, we shouldn't call it amateur rallies, why the real rallies are so special is because somebody would stop for you and help you. And that's why I love rally is that camaraderie, that friendship, that, get everybody across the line. And that was a big eye opener for me. So the FIM races were like, nope, this is it. If you get stuck, and it isn't necessarily just because of the people, it's because it's so hard. Like, I passed guys in the dunes where if the guy shows you a thumbs up, you go, but the clutch is burned out or whatever. Now in the case of Baja or anywhere else, you would stop and talk to the guy and help him. But here you're like, oh no, like I have to finish.
Yeah.
There's just too much on the line. So it's
Yeah.
a big mind shift. And Baja specifically, that and we see it between the top guys as well in Baja, even the top end of the competition in the Baja Rally, people help each other. And that's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, and then you see it, when everybody comes back into the bivouac and everybody's just hanging out and, giving each other, gassing each other for, mistakes or whatever it is. And, it's really cool. There, you saw, you get kind of a glimpse of that at the end of that video, where you hear Mike Johnson talking to, and you can't see him, he's off camera, but he's talking to Colton Udall. And talking about oh yeah, I was trying to lure you away from the track, and so it's a really cool it's a really cool camaraderie.
Dynamic.
It's a really cool dynamic. It's and not only that, the other one too, and I have to say this too, since we're kind of on the subject of it, and we'll go back to your journey because it's coming to a close. And well, I don't know, is it a close or a beginning? But the big thing is that I remember, and with that specifically was Colton Udall. Colton Udall talked about there was that tricky section coming out of the marathon stage, day 2, leaving LA Bay by Los Angeles, and there was some navigation. There was a mistake early on. He got turned around, but rather than open a waypoint and cost himself 10 minutes, which he had time to spare. He had money in the bank. He ended up with over an hour lead. He didn't do that. And he also didn't look for somebody to follow.
I'm going to figure this out. Yeah.
I went back, I'm going to figure this out. And he said, because otherwise I'm not learning. And that was really like, nobody was watching, and nobody was necessarily like, it wasn't one of those things like the camera was on here, let me tell them this so it looks better for the footage. It wasn't. It was just, a few guys talking and just talking about it. And I think that was really, really cool. It was cool of him to say, no, this is literally what I thought and what I did, so never mind the scare that he gave everybody at the end of the
the pee break.
The
famous pee break. That's never gonna get old.
Nope. If you guys want to hear that story, you're gonna have to ask Colton about it. So, okay.
Right. So yeah, after Baja, that was October.
Yeah.
Yes. So then after Baja, I went to South Africa to do I had a roadbook camp there. I had a friend of mine, Joey Evans. He's a big speaker. If you guys haven't heard of him or haven't read his book, it's called From Para to Dakar. He was on Lyndon's team for the Africa Eco Race, where Mike Johnson, Lyndon, Matt Sutherland, and some other guys were together. And Joey decided to come and do the Baja 1000 Ironman. So he came down to train a little bit at the roadbook camp and did a bit of a talk and stuff. And that was really cool. So the roadbook camp in South Africa was kind of my South African fundraising effort. It's such a small community that, it wasn't a massive event, but it was fun. We had thousands of kilometers of road books, and again, talking about transferring things you learn. I took a lot of the SoCal Fight Club idea, and kind of that hasn't really happened before at my road book camps, because normally the road book camps I hold is normally a mock rally. So you have a start time, you have a card, you have a time. It's like you're going to a race. It's just not a race. And in this case, I just didn't have the time, and I wanted to make it more relaxed. So it's like, listen, I have all of these road books, thousands of kilometers of them. Here they are. This is where we're camping. Just tell me where you're going to go, as long as I know. And then it was amazing because everybody could just have fun, While there, I got my hands on the Covey South Africa bike, and I have to tell you, everybody that has ridden a Covey has complained about the jerkiness, slow down for a second, the fact that people struggle to ride them. These guys did over 300 dyno sessions.
Oh, geez.
And they fixed it. They made the Covey, like, it is insane. Like, I took it because I had issues. I was worried about knowing how the Corvée ride. I was like, how is this thing going to get up dunes? I mean, I was going to drive 3 days to Namibia, so I was like, I took my spare bike. I took a spare bike because I was worried.
Mhm.
I didn't know about the map, and the guy that brought me the back was just smiling. He's like, take it, and tell me what you think. And the mapping they figured out for this bike makes it a completely different bike, and I'm like in love with it now. I'm like, wow, it's any issue that I had or complaint is sorted. That thing can go up, went up any dune I got to in Namibia. Like, barring my skills where maybe I couldn't do it, but I even the ones I didn't make it up the first time went the second time. So it was insane. So anyway, Corvée South Africa came down. They brought the bike for me to use while I was there. So super thankful of that. That it was so nice. After the road book camp, I took a 3-day drive. I said to myself, I'm not going to rush it. I'm going to take my time. And it seems like every time you do that, that's a mess. So I got to the border and I was stuck there for 6 hours. And it was just, driving to Walvis Bay, which is where we train in Namibia,
Mhm.
alone. It makes you semi crazy. It's 3 days driving on your own. But I loved it. I needed the time to think and kind of balance everything out. So then I trained in Namibia. We talked about that a bit. Definitely, anybody that wants to get over the dune demon, let me know. Like I had after my crash in Sonora, I was like, okay, I have to get the dunes out of my head. If you can do that, if you plan to do rallies, if your dream is to do a big rally, you have to tick the sand riding part off. And I know it sounds rich because I haven't done Dakar yet, but I've done Abu Dhabi now, and I've been to Sonora, and I've been to Namibia, so I'm feeling like I'm ticking them off. But even no matter the result, I feel I'm okay with it. And I think that's the big thing, is not being intimidated by the dunes and by the sand. Um, so then I came back, and then the last 3 weeks has been insane. It's been physically, it's been crazy because I'm working with a guy called Steve from Thrash Motor Co. He's up in Canada. I know quite a few people work with him. I think Carter Klein also works with him. Super nice guy. And his idea is, to give you a training program that's motorcycle centric.
Mhm.
And I've been doing, we've been working with him since probably after Abu Dhabi. And a lot of the stuff is stuff you won't think about. It's a lot of mobility. And again, we're testing this. This is Decoding Dakar. So we'll see after Dakar. I'll be like, listen, this was right or this is wrong. But he's like, okay, you have to open up your joints, your hips, your legs. The amount of mobility work I'm doing is crazy. But obviously, with his plan, it was ramping up to this last 3 weeks that I'm wrapping up now, where I'm doing at least an hour of physical exercise every day, and it's fairly intense. But it's all because I travel so much and because of injury. It's all body resistance stuff. So I don't use any instruments. It's all push-ups, toe taps, planks, stretching, stuff like that. But that program is coming to an end now, as far as you need to start tapering off. So
Mhm.
I'm sore every day. Like, I can wake up every morning being like, ah. And there's days that I don't want to do it. I told him, like last week, I had a session where it was the lowest I'd been for motivation. I just couldn't bring myself to do it. And I had to. I forced us, like, listen, no matter how bad you feel, dude, like, every push up or every toe tap or every plank is going to make it easier in Dakar. And what if you feel like this in Dakar? You have to do it.
Yeah.
So I
Sure.
did it. And now it's getting to the end. Then I'm going to be spending 2 weeks from next week. Speaking of Colton, him and I have been talking a lot. I really like his style.
Mhm.
The guys that follow the program knows that I'm not a pro racer, but I need to have high speed for Dakar in order to enjoy it. So I'm going to have a tour of the US, kind of training 2 weeks. I'm going to spend 3 days with Mike Johnson, to kind of help me mentally get into it, but also just help my style as far as I think small changes at this point in the game could make a big difference, I hope. So it's not that I can change my style this late, but I can certainly learn how to make it easier for myself at Dakar. So I'm doing a multiple training thing where I'm going to El Paso, riding with Mike. I'm going to Colton's place, riding with Colton, and then I'm going back to Colorado for the last few days to just do a few rides and just kind of close the training chapter, and then for the next 2 weeks it'll be like not excessive training. It'll be just keeping stuff equal and giving your muscles time to rest, and then it's the big day. So so that's it. I mean, I can't believe it's been a year. I mean, we've been speaking since January. It's
Yeah.
nuts. So
Yeah, I
it's
remember we
scary.
were talking, okay, yeah, the deadline to this, and it just, you're right. It does seem like it was, just a few months ago.
Mhm.
And it's interesting. I enjoy the technicalities of the riding and the building of the bike and doing all that stuff. So I'm curious to find out more about this tune, because obviously I don't know what map is on there on the current on the Cove Pro I have in the garage. So curious to find out about that, but the riding side of it, and I've always looked at that, like specifically Colton, Mike Johnson. I've also done class with Jose Carrasco, who was an Ironman champ down in Baja, and everybody's pretty much got the Johnson does talk a lot about what percent you're riding at, and being cautious but not being cautious, because that can cost you, or being overly cautious, and with Colton, just I still never forget, to be able to do a 600-700 mile stint down the Baja Peninsula at race leading pace, is, it takes a lot. And like you said, I 100% agree with you. I think that you've done a lot of writing. I've been keeping track. We've been watching what you've been doing, on your socials, and all of the writing you're done. And you're right. It's going to be those little changes, and it's not, maybe you won't pick up 2, 3, 4, 5 miles an hour average, but you can ride your current mile an hour average, conserving even more energy, because you moved your foot a little bit further back. You arched.
Exactly. It's those little things. Yep.
Yeah, and it's I've talked about it previously in other shows about setting up your bike just properly, so that you can conserve a little bit of energy, and it's the difference at the beginning of the day to the end of the day. Well, that's cool for most of us that do day rides, couple day rides, but you're getting ready to do this for 14 days straight.
If you say it, it's like breaking my brain.
Yeah, I shouldn't, it's making it sound worse.
No, it's true.
But it's true. And so, if you put a value on energy, and you assign a number figure to it, if you can save 2 points of energy today, and another 3 points tomorrow, and then another one there, by the time you get to the rest day, by the time you get to that one challenging section that really wipes you out because it's the first time in the dunes or whatever it is, had you not done what you did on day 1 and what you did on day 2, you wouldn't be in the position to handle that in day 3. So there's so much more to it. It's not,
And
yeah.
I think that is, and it's so important. And again, we'll see, right? The proof is going to be in the pudding, and it is Dakar. Anything can happen. But I think the things that you touch on there that I learned the hard way is that in a race, and I think Skylar House said that. I don't know if we taught it to me or if it said it publicly or if I just remember it. But it's like the one thing that you can never make up lost time. If the time is lost, it's lost. You cannot make it up. So don't even try, because it's gone. It's past. And in that vein, what I've learned is if you fall behind in the race, it compounds so quickly, and we see it in the tracking side at Dakar, at Baja, and at all the other stuff, that if you are in, it's not, I mean, it's, you have to stay out of the bottom 25%. Like, the last 25% of guys, are the guys that tomorrow they're in the 10% and then in the 5% and then in the 3%. And that's how the attrition happens. So if you can stay above the bottom 25% and keep it there, great. But if once you start falling behind in a rally because of its compounding factor, you start having trouble because you can't make it up. You can't fix it. It's done. And a great example would be the cars. Like if you start in the back, you have an hour maybe before the cars catch you, maybe less. If you start in the middle, you probably have 4 hours before the cars catch you. Because I worked it out yesterday, right? If we're 120 bikes and we have a 2-minute start grid, that's 4 hours, dude, that you get. So the leaders, have the whole day. They probably won't see cars, or they'll see cars, but you know what I mean. Like it's just not falling behind.
Yeah, no, and that's true. This year they're separating car courses. They made it a point to mention that the cars and the bikes were going to be on different courses. And to your point,
5 stages.
Yeah, for 5. I mean, that's huge. And
Huge.
to your point on what we heard, I remember Skyler saying that at Sonora Rally. When he kind of had a little impromptu class. He talked about some waypoints and he made it a point to mention specifically about that the time is gone. When the time is gone, the time is gone. It doesn't, you can't rewind. You can't go back and ride that section faster to make it up. And, and that's something that I've, back when I used to race RC cars, and I never forget, completely different discipline. But it was, if you were going to push to drive faster and make up time, then why weren't you driving that pace anyway? So it's like, if you have it in you to ride at 80% securely, then why were you riding at 60%? And then you made a mistake or you did something, and now you're going to want to ride at 90% or 95% to try and make something
Fix your
up.
mistake.
And fix your mistake when you could have just been riding at 80% the whole time. So I think that plays to what like Mike Johnson says, where it's like, you have to be cautious, you have to make wise decisions, but at the same time, you can't be overly. You can't.
Exactly.
You have to have that balance in between. So, that's interesting. I mean, but yeah, to go back to that, I saw that they're talking about multiple stages now where they've got different lines going places. So the cars and the bikes will have a little bit of a different journey, which I think is much welcome, right? I mean, I think that's
definitely. It's going to keep us guessing, and we had it only at one day in Abu Dhabi where we crossed tracks from the previous day, and it was insane how many people just went on the tracks from the previous day, because you just ride the tracks, there's just so many of them. In the sand. So I think there's two things that I'm in the back of my mind is scratching, which I hope doesn't come to fruition. Number one is I think that if they split up the tracks for the bikes and the cars, it will be harder. They're going to make the bike routes harder than normal, because in the past, for me as an amateur rider, my saving grace has been I would never be worried about the route, because I would always be like, if a car can't get there, then it's not the route. That's actually one of my rallies where I got really messed up. I was riding and I was like, there's no way a car can ride here. And I realized, okay, I'm off route because this is not part of the race. So now all of a sudden that changes, right? If it's bikes only, it's going to make a completely different route. So I suspect, and I hope I'm wrong, that those stages might be more difficult on the bikes than it would be normally. And I hope they literally just split it just because of the cars. So that's my one thing that I'm thinking about. The other thing that I'm thinking about is that Dakar is famous for not having cutoffs. And I'm just hoping that they keep that spirit alive if it's a bike-only stage. Or is it going to be a scenario where, listen, now you don't have to contend with the cars. You just have to ride the route. So actually, if you're not in the bivouac by 5, it's going to be a cutoff. I hope, because that's the one thing that's been making Dakar, that gives you the hope. Like, as long as I can make it, I mean, I just read Lawrence Hacking's book again about the first Canadian to do Dakar and how he fought. But he fought every day and he made it. He made his start time every day. So I'm just hoping that Dakar never loses that tenacity aspect, because all of the other races now have cutoffs in them.
Yeah. Yeah. It's I guess some people, so for those playing the home game, the cutoff time, at some point in time, depending on the event, there's a decision to be made on rider safety versus organizational assets, in case there's an emergency, in case something goes sideways. It could be the terrain, the area where you're at, that kind of thing. So cutoff times will just basically, they'll say, okay, if they're not past this certain point by this time, we're going to divert them back to the highway, or we're going to divert them to this spot, and then they're going to be guided back something or other. But basically it's the organization telling you you're out of time. And I mean, I can imagine how I've always experienced it from the organization side. I can imagine from the participant side that it's a bit demoralizing that, man, I gave it my all. It just wasn't enough. And now I'm getting cut off. And from the organizational side, I'm like, we talked about this a little bit at Baja Rally this year, was kind of like, you don't want to, as an org, you don't want to, because you understand that, and especially you, because you've raced and you've participated in this, you don't want to make that decision, so there becomes a balance in that. It's like, okay, well, at some point, it's got to happen. So hopefully, yeah, you're right. I mean, I heard Mike Johnson talking about a 22-hour stage time in one of the conversations we were having. You can't do that with a cutoff time. A cutoff time, they would have told him, that's it, hours before that. So
yeah, that's what's made Dakar unique. In our instance, it's hard to do, and I think we should have a separate program, because that's a big passion of mine, is allowing somebody that has the ability to finish, right? But again, it comes down to Dakar versus Baja. Dakar's got helicopters, and you're paying a lot more. I mean, as far as the ability to extract somebody. But a lot of the times when you do have a cutoff, it doesn't mean that the person is not capable of doing it. It means that you're weighing up the risks of what happens if they can't do it, or what happens if they have an emergency. And I think that's the hard thing, is like, in that moment, you feel like it's a reflection of your abilities, where being cut has nothing to do with in normal rallies. It has nothing to do with your abilities. It's about like how you place your resources on that chessboard, because you don't know how many people in front of you needs an ambulance or a helicopter, and it might be 5, and you're an hour behind. So even though you could still finish, you've become a risk for the organization and for yourself, because if something were to happen, we wouldn't be able to get to you. So we should have a nice conversation about that. We could geek out about the backside of races.
The inner workings of rally, and how that goes. So yeah, I mean, it'll be I think this year is going to be interesting. I think the course, the way that it's laid out, the 48-hour chrono stage, the marathon stage, sticking with that, it was nice. I kind of feel like look, guys, here, we gave you something. No liaison in the marathon stage. I kind of feel that was the bone that they threw inside.
They kind of just glossed over the marathon stage, right? He didn't give a lot of information, so it's going to be interesting. I'm sure there'll be a few surprises there. So
I agree, and and it's going to be interesting. Like I said, I mean, I'm curious to see how the game gets played with the Dakar swing. The teams up top. The Austrian team being reduced down to just 3 bikes instead of, I think it was 5 or 6 at one point. It's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, because Honda is there with a massive team. Look, it's going to be that last stage. Everything's going to come back to the second to last stage. You and I've talked about that before. I think each team is going to have their own idea of how to run it. And I mean, if I were ever to be in a position where I could get stuff like that, I've played around in my mind with that, and I was like, you know what, if I were in that position, I would push and give absolutely everything I have until the second to last stage, because I think the winner is going to be the guy with the biggest lead going into the second to last stage, because that's going to be the guy that can make the least or that can make the most mistakes or can take it the easiest. 380 kilometers in empty quarter dunes. I mean, even on a good day, it's not even a day. I just don't know. I don't know how it's going to play out. So I think that you cannot getting there after 13 days of racing. You can't take risks. So the problem comes, what if the top guys are separated by a minute or two? I mean, it's going to bring that real competition back because guys that can't afford to take chances is going to take chances.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see that. I'm sure I wouldn't be able to follow it at that time. Afterwards, I'll ask you for a blow by blow.
You may or may not be busy during that time. I don't know. Just saying.
Yeah.
So I mean, let's kind of closing it up and get going because I can smell the ovens going already.
The turkeys are calling.
Yeah. So where like support wise, I mean, I know it's not over, until
No, it's not over at all.
Until even beyond it. Let's talk a little bit about supporting you. How what are the are we still? I know you were doing you were doing some stuff.
So I know we don't have a lot of time, so I'm gonna roll through this, and then maybe we should put this in front of the video if nobody watches till the end. But let's give it to them quickly. So guys, first off, every single person that's helped me, not just financially, everybody that's been with me on the phone, that's given me advice, where I could crash on their couch or that gave me some tips. I mean, this is a truly, truly team effort. And I say it all the time, yes, it's a dream of mine, 100%. I'm not going to lie about that. But there is no way on this earth that I even would have gotten here without the support of the rally community. And it's something that I really, truly, passionately love and will pay forward. The whole point of Decoding Dakar is helping other people get to Dakar after me and trying to make it easier. It's almost like you said, those incremental changes on the bike. If I could learn even 2 things this year to make a future Dakar guys trip easier, that's what I wanted to learn and see. So it's been incredible, and I'm really thankful. Money wise, dollar wise, it's not very close to to where I have to be, which is sad and hard and frustrating. But I knew this, I planned for it, and that will be an after Dakar. We will have a Decoding Dakar session of what does it really cost, truly. From the socks to the entry fee, where did it go? So for me, every single cent helps, and it's been weird because I feel like all I do is walking around asking people for money, which is just, it sucks. It's like I want to get away from that, but you're also not in a position. I'm not in a position to bankroll $150,000 by myself to go and race in the desert. And I've really dedicated this year of focusing on fundraising. So at this point, the bike's done. That's big news. Actually, the bike's getting loaded in Barcelona today, and the graphics and stuff is done. But the ways that you can still support me is obviously this T-shirt that I've been wearing the whole time. I wasn't going to do T-shirts, and you guys, the people listening and watching, were the people that convinced me. People asked, they're like, we want T-shirts. We want T-shirts. I'm like, dude, if you're going to buy a T-shirt, then you're actually just getting something for supporting me. So the T-shirts aren't cheap, but it goes straight into the Decoding Dakar fund, and they're limited edition. We're not going to make any more of them. They were designed by a guy in South Africa, famous artist there. And I'm very, very happy with mine, and I wear it as a badge of honor. So something I didn't plan to do that is there. So there's T-shirts. And then the Decoding Dakar challenge is something that I'm quite proud of. Joey actually gave me this advice. Joey Evans said people part with money very hard, but they part with stuff quite easily. So I managed to collect this massive grand prize. It's over $10,000 worth already. And stuff keeps on being added. Cardo just threw in a set of ear stuff, the Cardo systems. And the idea would be there's a lot of legal implications around raffles. So it's an actual competition where you buy a ticket and then you enter the competition, and then there's, I think it's about 10 or 12 questions. Some is Dakar questions, and then some are questions about how I'm going to experience Dakar. What's the toughest stage going to be? What's my top speed going to be? Like stuff like that. The competition is open until the end of January, so you could watch the whole Dakar. And then the person that gets the answers closest to the right answer wins this massive like hamper of just really cool stuff. I made a video about it. Maybe we can link it, but it's a ton of stuff. And a lot of the people didn't just give one thing. So there'll be a bunch of other prizes now. Eng Enduro gave 3 or 4 tools, so now obviously we'll give those out to other prizes. So I'm excited for that because that's something that people can kind of participate in. And if we have people that has the same number, same score, I think we can have like a live face-off, maybe on Chasing Waypoints or on somewhere we can have a live Dakar trivia where they're competing for this massive prize. So it's a T-shirt, it's the Decoding Dakar Challenge, and then the third one is I have a GoFundMe. And I have a inside Dakar behind the scenes WhatsApp group. And a lot of people's like, well, you should just open it for everybody. But I feel like, I want to have something where there's a little bit of a barrier because, we geek out about this stuff. Not everybody wants to know about what food we're going to eat in the bivouac and what my camper looks like, So the idea of the WhatsApp group is anybody that has donated to GoFundMe, it can be any amount. There's no minimum. But if you've donated to the GoFundMe, you get added to the WhatsApp group, which will give you running commentary behind the scenes throughout the entire Dakar. And then you can ask questions. If you say to me, listen, I want to see this or that, we'll do that. And those are the 3 things. So the WhatsApp group, GoFundMe, that gives you access to that, the T-shirts, and then the Decoding Dakar Challenge. I have a Shopify shop. It's all on there. The Rally tab has also got $100 off for now until Dakar, just to kind of try and sell a few of those. Sorry, I know that's a mouthful, but that is pretty much how you can support me. So guys, please, if you've watched this long, you're a dedicated rally fan, and that $50, $100 is going to make a massive difference for me. I just had to buy new helmet, new boots because I have to take 2 of everything. My air vest, big shout out to Baja as well. Baja, my air vest conked, and Scotty from Baja sorted me out with an air vest. So very, very, very thankful for that. Thank you so much.
That's awesome. Awesome. Yeah, like you say, I am looking forward to hearing, the other side of it. It always, every year at the Dakar, you look at the Google Trends and what people are looking for, and that's, how much does it cost to enter the Dakar? Oh man.
I think $150,000 realistically. Like, I think my GoFundMe is at 70,000, not donations, goal,
Yeah.
And I'll be honest with you afterwards. Because this was the point of Decoding Dakar, it's like to give us this, okay. And again, this is how to do it optimally. And again, we can only say that if I finished, right? If I don't finish, then it'll be like, well, how optimum was that? But I'm hoping that the story that we can tell is that, right, this is A, B, C, D, E, F. And you know what? A, B, C, D, E, F resulted in a finish, bar extreme bad luck.
Well,
and then what does that cost?
Yeah. And you and I've talked about it before. And I think that there's 2 races to this, and it's one is to get everything in line and ready, meet the cutoffs, meet the deadlines, meet the registration, do all of that stuff, just to put your front wheel in front of the starter on stage, on the prologue. Not even let's not even talk stage 1, just talking the prologue. Just to put your front wheel of a bike, on the prologue starting line is one whole life event in itself.
100%.
And then what happens after the rear tire crosses that line, that starting line of the prologue to the finish line, in the empty quarter is
That's a different story. Yeah.
it's the whole other story,
Yeah.
to it.
Yeah.
And so you're already
Yeah.
there, things, paid for, there's financial, there's all of these things going on, but that all takes second fiddle to, or second chair to what you got to do,
Exactly. And it's not rational. You can't think about spending that amount of money rationally because it's a dream, right? Dreams aren't rational. And I mean, you said it. It's on my website. I mean, I can't remember it off of hand, but it's like, you won't be defined by Dakar, but Dakar will define you. I think.
Yeah.
Is that it? That's a Victor quote. And that's the truth, dude. Like, it's so like you can't get it out. I need that piece, I'm like, so, and everybody that's done it, they speak with it with the same passion. It's like once you've done the journey, and it's funny, I mean, a friend of mine, Stuart Gregory, he's done 5 Dakars. He wasn't going to go this year. He was so dejected, he did 5 Malamotos. And he's like, for the first time in 5 years, I'm not going to go. And now finally, like he managed to get in as a navigator for a car. But it is this thing about actually the first one's a hurdle. You learn and then it gets easier. So we'll see.
Yeah.
But thanks for being on this journey with me, Victor. I mean, you and I mean, we've been speaking for many years, so it's like, and now it's getting exciting because it's like everything's coming to this point, and it's like I'm happy I'm doing it this way because like I'm not stressed or nervous or worried. I'm like actually excited. It's like, okay, wow, this is why I'm doing it because this way and taking the time. So thanks for everything you do for me and for the industry and for all the crazy rally people out there that listens to the show. Guys, please go and check it out. And let's make 2025 an awesome rally year, man. I'm excited for it.
It's coming in. I mean, whether we like it or not, the days are running out. So
it's going there.
We're gonna have to do it. But yeah, we're looking forward to it. And I'll tell you now. I know you're gonna be busy. I'll message you, reply when you can. The Dakar. I'm happy to relay.
Yeah, we'll do some calls definitely. I mean, hopefully after a year of training, I should be fit enough to be able to finish in enough time to actually talk with you on the phone. If we don't get to do any talking over that side, then we'll be like, Willem's training program didn't work out. Yeah. So let's see how it goes.
Yeah. And I don't blame you get focused, you got to do these things. And, hey, it's part of the racing, but it'll be good. It's going to be, I think you're going to have a lot of fun. I think you're in the right mindset. I mean, outside looking in, you don't look like you're too stressed. I'm sure that probably feels a little different.
I'm excited. I'm like, today when I saw that thing, I mean, we talked about earlier when the realization of the route came in, I literally felt it. Like I had butterflies, but it wasn't being nervous. It's about, heck yeah, like, let's get it. So that's where we're going to go.
Good. Well, excellent. So
cool.
I'll end it. We have to talk. First of all, they're going to follow you. If you guys aren't already, you should be following Willem at Willem Avedon Racing.
That's right? The one. Yep.
That's the one. Yep. And then we'll get the website. Check the description. We'll get links, videos, all of that stuff down in the description for you guys to check out. No matter what platform you're watching this on, it could be either the Spotify platform over on YouTube or on any of the podcast platforms. So don't forget to check the description so you guys can get the links. Support Willem on his adventure and make sure you follow him because, well, that's where you're going to find out first what he's up to. So
I hope so. Yeah, exciting, man. Thanks so much, Victor, for everything. Have a great Thanksgiving, and we will speak maybe before I go. Otherwise, from Saudi, we'll catch up with you guys.
That sounds like a plan, man. Enjoy. Don't eat too much. Don't ruin that diet.
You know what? I have had dreams about this. The ASO has an all-you-can-eat buffet 24 hours a day in the bivouac. So I was just like, I'm just gonna go eat there and just like eat. Like the food's so bad, I was like, I don't care, dude. Okay. I just love a buffet. Okay, guys, have a good one. Thanks so much.
All right. Thank you.